I've clicked onto the Global Tropical Overview for July the 31st, 2023. As is always the case in these videos, the thoughts expressed are mine alone, and when making decisions ahead of any tropical cyclone, especially ahead of Typhoon Khanun, look towards your local weather office, local emergency management, and local tropical cyclone warning center. There are several systems active across the world, but this is going to be more of a shorter one, as I only have time to make a more shorter one tonight. So we're going to focus on Typhoon Khanun, as this system is a very significant threat to Japan, Taiwan, and China as we go into this week. Now, the system right now is intensifying at a pretty significant rate. It's right now a Category 3 with winds of about 120 miles per hour. The expectation is that the system will intensify further to a mid-grade Category 4, potentially high grade if it pushes for it, Category 4, as it approaches the Japanese islands. But right now, you can see that the system is improving overall. You can see the eye is becoming more clear on infrared and visible imagery as well. And we have a lot of this deep convection wrapping around, now getting to the western side. If it manages to close this off, that will probably push it to Category 4, and that will likely make way for more significant intensification overall towards its peak intensity. Now, if we look aloft, you can see very strong divergence aloft. You can see the poleward outflow and the equatorward. The poleward is also being aided by this upper level low east of China. Very amazing view to watch here, but unfortunately this system is becoming a significant threat for potential typhoon impacts, and those impacts could be prolonged. I haven't had many videos over the past couple of days, but earlier in the week we had talked about, I believe we had talked about Invest 91W when it wasn't Invest, how the expectation was the system was going to come through the Japanese islands and then track west, potentially making a landfall in China. Now, that door has not fully closed yet, but we have seen a big trend in guidance today on the system coming through the Japanese islands and stalling, or at least moving very slowly in between the islands and China, and then eventually the system moving northeast as it gets pulled up north by ridging. Now, the change today has been a change in the ridging up northeast of the system, this ridge here east of Japan. Now, in this frame of the GFS model, this is the 18Z run, latest run, you can see that we have general ridging here. This is trying to pull the storm northward. Originally, we had ridging overall building westwards to connect with this ridge northwest of the storm. Originally, that was the case, and that was allowing the storm to track right into China, as you had ridging up north, and that would have just funneled the storm to China. Now, unfortunately, this ridge has been trending further east. And I say unfortunately because the system is now forecast, at least by some models like the GFS, to slow down significantly as it passes through these islands. Either way, it was going to be a significant typhoon for Japan and China. And now it is good news for China and Taiwan, but of course, don't let your guard down. We can still see the system come west enough to give you significant impacts, and a landfall still is not outruled. Let me make that very clear. But the trend today has been towards the system staying here near the Japanese islands, and this can prolong the typhoon impacts across the region. Now, the European is keeping the ridging up north in place a little bit stronger and longer here. This might be a case of both model biases coming in. The GFS might be a little too weak here. The European might be a little too strong here. And you can see the European does carry this further west here, but it stalls it right about there, and then it turns north. This would probably be one of the better solutions from the European, having the storm stall out here, because the oceanic heat content is very low overall in this region. And with a stalling system, it would likely be able to churn up colder waters much, much quicker, and you would get much more weakening before the system actually comes back over the islands of Japan and towards mainland Japan. Now, this system is very large, and I can show you that in the forecast cone here. You can see the expanse of the tropical storm force wind field here, and it's also a fairly significant range of typhoon force winds as well from the center. And you put this here and consider that the system could also grow in size, and you have significant impacts in many areas, even if the center is much far east or north of you in Taiwan or in China. Now, as the system approaches, we will be getting some more impacts here, starting out in the Japanese islands. And you can see here's the most likely arrival of tropical storm force winds. And you can see the most likely is Tuesday morning, but I'd say in Japan, in these islands, have your preparations done this afternoon, local time, as the earliest arrival is looking to be tonight, local time. And we could be looking at dangerous conditions impacting the islands as early as tonight. Now, as for areas further west in some of the other Japanese islands, we're looking at mainly Tuesday night or Wednesday. So I'd say have your preparations done by, say, Tuesday afternoon. In Taiwan and portions of China, you're looking towards middle to late week. So have your preparations done, I'd say, by Wednesday if you're in Taiwan. And impacts are still looking fairly possible here in China. So if you are going to have some preparations to be done, have them done, I'd say, by Wednesday night as well. Now, here's the probability of typhoon force winds, and you can see they are increasing, and they will continue to increase across the Japanese islands as the system comes through. Remember, it has a very large expanse of typhoon force winds, so even if the system center passes, say, far south of the islands, you can still get typhoon force winds, and the outer bands will also have some significant wind gusts, potentially up to typhoon force, and you could still also have some significant surge on the northern side of this. Remember that wind is not the only impact. Rainfall and storm surge is a significant impact of these systems, especially when they're very strong like this. So that's really all for this update on Khanun. I'll have further updates throughout this week on a more normal schedule. We'll also talk about other systems across the world. But stay safe in Japan, Taiwan, and China ahead of the storm. And that's it for now. Thanks for watching.